Hi, I'm Dr. Meeta NIhlani, and today we are here to celebrate Mother's Day. It is a most auspicious and a beautiful day, a beautiful emotion to celebrate. So, I just offer my gratitude for my own mother, for Divine Mother, and all my mentors for this beautiful journey. So, I'm sharing my journey from the start. So, as you know that we all most of us we when we start studying or when we have that dream in our mind, we always want to go for allopathic stream. So this was the story which this was what I wanted to do, but because I was not able to get through the admissions, I opted for homeopathy. And when I was just going for the admissions, I had promised God that um, that whatever you have chosen for me, this is not what I had selected for myself, but whatever you have chosen for me, I'll give my 100%. So, with this in my mind, I started my homeopathic journey, and the very first lecture which I attended, it was of organon, and the very first thing which made me commit my life to homeopathy was the few lines which my teacher mentioned, that in those old days, the cure was not very gentle. So our master's line, like that the cure has to be very gentle, made me commit myself throughout the life of homeopathy. So I think, like this gentleness which we connect is a trait of a mom, of a mother. So this is the divine feminine energy, the yin energy within us, which makes us to commit ourselves to a healing science, which is a very gentle science, which is very. It was in those days there was bloodletting and leech applications and the ECT convulsions. They were the mental asylums. They were not treating human beings in a very gentle manner. So somehow I think this thing within me was stirred, and that made me study homeopathy with all my heart. And I was lucky enough to get a mentor like Dr. Shankaran in the beginning of my practice. The year I passed homeopathy was when Dr. Shankaran he did the first seminar in Mumbai, and I was lucky to attend that, and that made me ground further into the study of homeopathy. I always just followed his hand, so you can say that he is, like he has been the nurturing energy which has taken me this far. And also our academy, that the other song academy, it is a very nurturing, and we just it feels like a extended family. Whenever we meet, we have that kind of love and bond in academy, which makes us go further. We just take each other along with us. So after attending the first webinar, first seminar of Dr. Shankaran in Mumbai, I saw very interesting cases, and that made me study further. So I started studying with Sir, and that was a time when the Spirit of Homeopathy was released. So that is a book which I always tell my students is like the Bible of homeopathy. Every time you study that book, you understand something deeper about it. You are guided to understand it more deeper within. So as I pursued this journey further of studies, of studying with Sir, I started my practice in Mumbai, which took off very easily. It did not take me a time. It did not. I didn't even have I have a clinic. I started at my place, at my home. I didn't even have a board, but the practice started rolling. So I practiced for 3 years in Mumbai, and then I was uh, married off to Raipur, and that was the most painful part of my life. I was separated from my parents, and I was also separated from my mentor, because those were the days when we didn't have this internet or this kind of studies. So I just had to depend on books, and I just read his books, and I used to study and study and study. I got very beautiful results in many of the cases with repertorization and with materia medica. So that is what I would like to stress on, ki your basics have to be very strong. We have to have very strong basics. We build whatever we are doing in homeopathy, we are just building now step by step, but the base has to be very strong. So we started with that base which our mentors have put, Dr. Hahnemann, Dr. Boning Hussein, Dr. Kent. That was the time when we started the mental approach of homeopathy. We started studying the um, we started studying it in in using more of mind rubrics, and that is where the study and the understanding that homeopathy, that what was given in spirit of homeopathy, that disease is a delusion. So we went further, and there was a point where I remember I was cut off from all these source of studies, so I just kept studying. I started my practice in Raipur, and in the process, I had my obstetric career. I have two beautiful children. It was initially difficult to start my practice with children. Like you attend a peak, you come here, and when you have that the period of pregnancies and childbearing, you come again back to zero. And then like after the second child, again I started up, and then after the first child I started, then again I went down. I came to zero. There was a plateau of like almost a year and a half. So this like this journey was this like this, but still I never wanted ever to be called as a better doctor than a better mother. So each one has his own philosophy of life. Each one of has own um, driving force of our life. So my driving force was always, like I have to keep this intricate balance. There was never a time when I took a step which made me, a step towards more towards my career and less towards my kids. So I think that was the strength of the mother which I had within me, and these traits were given from my own mother. I do realize that she was a strict teacher, but this strict upbringing brought me here where I am, managing home, my family, and my family was a very big family. It was a joint family. I came from a nuclear family, but somehow with my mother's tough upbringing, I could make it over here. I, I never ever felt that I was not able to do what everybody expected. When you are a woman, there are so many expectations from each and everybody in the family, and so I always believe that everything starts from home. If you're happy at home, if you can spread that happiness, so then you can spread this happiness further. You can go further. So these teachings, which obviously my mother these had inculcated me, helped me to take steps ahead. But it was one step at a time. It was a time where I couldn't be ambitious. I although had that yearning passion within me, I had that fire within me, but I knew somehow that has to be kept in check, because always the kids were the priority, your children were your priority, your family was your priority. But even with that, I was very sure that whatever time I used to get, initially I started with 1 hour a day, then it went to 2 hours a day, then maximum it was 3 hours, all these years. But in those few hours, I put my 100%. So I never, I had a teacher in the beginning years of the practice. I sat with a teacher, and she used to practice, and she gave me a suggestion. I asked her that, do I start my practice right now, or do I need to learn further? She said, you start your practice right away, but you think you have to take small baby steps. You just start thinking that you can just treat simple cases now. So that was the thing, which just made me go on, and I started the practice the very first year of my after completing my graduation. And after that, I was very clear what cases I could take and what cases I had to refer. I had to pass it on. I knew my limitations. That was very important. And step by step, I went to a point that where I could deal with very chronic cases, very difficult cases, you can say, in which sometimes almost where they were labeled as incurable from the doctors, allopathic doctors. But with the gradual, like taking step by step, coming ahead and learning, studying, and having faith in our foundation, having faith in your own principles of homeopathy, you could go further, and I could deal with chronic cases also. I also remember a case which was, a turning point in my life, and that was a case of idiopathic thrombocytic purpura. That child was, he was around 6 to 7 years of age, and he had even gone to the extent of a splenectomy. And even after that, he was not able to thrive. The doctors, he had fever every time, and he used to bleed. He used to bleed from his eyes, his nose, his ears, everything. Like there were orifices which were bleeding, and that child was so connected to his mother that he used to clean his curtains. He used to wipe with curtains, and he used to clean his clothes before his mom was awake. So again, I'm getting goosebumps while just talking about it. So that was a beautiful relation of a mother and child, which I saw. The mother, she was a warrior. There was nobody in her family who could believe that homeopathy could help. After doctors, they had given up on the child. She even traveled to Nagpur, Mumbai, but she was not helped. She was not able to get that help. And in spite of all the odds, she fought with her family, and she could um, fight, and she could stick to homeopathy for the child. So that is what made me, like it gave me a strength, that at least if you can work on such a child, if you can, homeopathy can give life to such a child. You have to go on, and you have to help patients. So these were the stepwise learnings. And there was a point, the obstetric career, it almost took 10 years. So when my the younger daughter, she was 10 years old, who has now turned up to a beautiful individual, when she was 4 years old, we made a study group in Raipur. We started studying here. We had all around 25 to 30 doctors. We had a doctor who was as senior. He was around 75 years that time. We started studying, and as the word spread, we started having students. There were many students who wanted to study from us. So that is how my institute, which is Research Institute of Classical Homeopathy, was born. Somehow I had it in my mind that I am not able to work for longer hours. I'm not able to give that much to my profession that I should be given, because of being a mother. And being a mother is a full-time job. So I always was a full-time mother and a part-time doctor, rather than being the other thing. So that is why when I started teaching, I used to think, if I'm not able to put my knowledge into practice, at least some of my students, they will start practicing. So it is all ultimately giving to your profession. I remember I'm getting that image of Durga Ma, our idols, the goddesses having 8 hands. So I used to think these students are my hands. If I'm not able to work that much, they will do. And even till now, those students are connected with me. They're studying with me now. They have become my colleagues, and at a point, even they teach me. So it is a process of learning and growing together. We have all learned. We have all grown in this process. Homeopathy and healing, it's not a one way process. I grow with my patients, I grow with my students, I grow when I deal with a case. In our homeopathic practice, we have students, we have patients who share their beautiful stories with us. They are, they just go down to their core, and they share their experiences with us. So there is something which you learn. I believe that you get only those patients who heal you. You attract only what you want to be healed, what needs to be healed within you. So we went on with these patients, with these students. I grew. So although I'll tell you all that it was not a walk, this journey was not like walking on a cakewalk. It was not a cakewalk, but I enjoyed all the ups and downs. I enjoyed all the, it is like the journey is more beautiful than the destination. I don't know what is the destination, where I'll go, where I'm going, but I'm enjoying each and every moment of this beautiful journey of growing up as a homeopath. So I will always suggest that, just start it, make it very small. When you have children, when you have family, make it small and just start, just take a step. I'm seeing my students who have got married. Some of them, they are not able to start their practice because of this fear that how they'll manage life, the both, because it's taxing, having both things. You have to balance every moment. It's like juggling between this and this. But with the help of your family, and especially having a very supporting family, it's always important that uh, you go ahead with them. So I was just studying. I made a group, and then at a point when the sensation method was introduced, I started reading all the books, because whatever knowledge I used to get it from Sir's book. It was a joke in my family that whenever she comes here, she wants to buy those books. I made it. I used to land up at the airport, and I used to go to Santa Cruz to buy books, and then I used to go to my home in Mumbai. So I read all the books, but there was a point where I was not able to understand the hand gestures. Um, I didn't understand what, because um, that was a point when I realized that now I need to go back to Mumbai and attend my seminars and conferences. And my daughter also, she was 4 years old. Somehow, my husband took the responsibility of looking after her for a few days. I attended the seminar. I met Dr. Shankaran, and there they had then they planned 12 days intensive advanced workshop of sensation method, which really made us understand what sensation method is. We studied all we showed it, all the beautiful cases were showcased. So there was also a case of oyster which Dr. Jayesh had shared in that um, workshop, and there was something within me which was stirred, and I realized that um, how just by watching those cases of sensation method, especially when you're taken to the deepest aspect, where I say, which is I feel, which is a zero point, where the healing starts happening itself, and it is a healing for both the physician and the patient. So that was again, coming to sensation method was the most beautiful phase of my life, because I also started going within. I started understanding, initially it was just practice, practice, practice. And, like it was homeopathy, it was materia medica, it was repertory. But when we came to sensation method, when we came to the zero point, we also saw patterns. I started seeing that, everything is in the nature is based on patterns, and in sensation method we can decode those patterns and match it with a similar remedy. So this gave a new dimension to homeopathy, as well as I could see that this is now a portal, the sensation method, when we can go to the zero point, where which is a space of healing. It is a portal to more healing modalities, and that is the point when we did journey within with Dr. Jayesh, and I was exposed to many more healing modalities. And which I understood that how homeopathy is a holistic treatment, how holistic, why it is called a holistic treatment, what happens when a treatment is given. So the journey after the simillimum, when the patient, we give that remedy to the patient just blooms, like, it blooms with the full potential. So I was more excited, because beforehand I could understood that this is what is lacking. The patient is stuck here. This is how the energy pattern is blocking him, and this is where he needs to go. So now here, the homeopathy got bigger. It got bigger than life, although with delusion, with the Dr. Shankaran's spirit of homeopathy, that the disease is delusion. We went a bit deeper, but with sensation method, and we went to we went to phases which were beyond imagination, and that is the beautiful, turning point of my life. And here I started becoming a bit getting I got inclined towards spirituality. So I shifted. My clinic was, homeopathy clinic pehle. Then I made it a holistic clinic. It is now Anahata Healing Foundation. Here I started workshops where we started doing inner child healing um, processes. I used to make a group of people, ladies who had hypothyroidism, and we used to start meditation. So we did all kind of meditations over here, and started seeing a shift in my students and my patients. So we went in a very different aspect of holistic homeopathy. So step by step you evolve, and that's here I would like to tell you that, please start homeopathy wherever you are as a mother. It's a very beautiful journey. So there are few tips which I would like to, you know, uh, share that in this process, just don't lose yourself. The process of balancing. What happens is we do balance. We are successful in balancing few things, the both edge. But if we lose ourselves in the process, it won't help. It won't serve the cause. So that is what I realized at my 40th birthday, when I was surrounded with my family and my students. There was an aha moment that, I'm losing myself, with the stress. Then that was a point where I started doing the things which I had not been doing for so many years. So I would always suggest that, take time out for yourself during the whole process, because you are the center, you are the primary nurturer. And if you are empty from within, then you won't be able to serve. So always serve from a overflowing cup. First feed yourself, first nurture yourself. Even in air flights we hear that, put that mask on yourself first and then on others. So this is what it means to serve from the overflowing cup. I will not as you know, in homeopathy now we are doing subclasses, we are doing personal evolution method, in which we are seeing that, a person is stuck at an inner age. Whatever your external age is, you are stuck at an age. There is a age in which you're stuck. So in this, when we go in the fourth subclass, towards the end, we see only resentment and bitterness and a feeling of being, empty, dried up. So that is the phase which I will always warn you that, please don't let that happen to you. Enjoy the process, be with yourself, nurture yourself first. So serving from the overflowing cup, that is what I will suggest. And start simple, and just surrender. Even if there are some cases in which you're not able to work out, just trust. There is some guiding force in the universe which wants you to be here. That's why you're here. So trust the flow. There are many students who are now bombarded with so many methods, and I can see confusion on their faces. For us, we didn't have anything outside, that there was no knowledge to seek from outside in those days. But nowadays there is bombardment of knowledge, of webinars, of methods, of teachers. So I can see a lot of confusion in them. So here I would like to suggest, I always tell them, so the best method is your method. You just anchor yourself in the basis, in your foundation, and take one method which is aligned to your heart. Everybody is not made for sensation method, everybody is not made for the keynote methods. So it is something within which attracts you to a method, right? So just anchor yourself first in that method, and then gradually you just study other methods, because it's like a mountain. So once you come to the top, you understand all the roads were the same. They leads lead to the same point. But when we are down, we have those insecurities. We don't see the other people, like we see wo bhi ja raha hai, wo bhi ja raha hai, wo ja raha hai, but their paths are different. But when we see things from the top, we understand that everything brings you to the minimum. So don't get like in a debate of which method is good. Just go with your heart, just follow your heart. There is an inner GPS. We have an inner GPS which always guides us. So trust that guide and just start your practice and follow this journey of homeopathy. It has been very enriching, very enriching. I thank everybody. I thank to TOF team for taking us here. I thank my family. I thank everybody who has been instrumental in this journey. So I would like to end this with a note of gratitude to all of y'all for being here and listening to this. Um, there was a point in my practice where I didn't want to practice because, my daughter, she had a fall. She was 1 year old and I was in clinic and she had, this swollen this eyes, and I went frantic. Doctor said कि थोड़ा सा ये आज बच गई इसकी eyes, and I was so scared because my child was with a maid. And that moment I didn't want to practice. I just I'll practice with my kids. Then I had a pediatrician, my child's pediatrician in my locality, whom with I discussed that I'm not going to practice further after this incident. So he just told me one line, don't practice. It is okay, but I've seen your practice growing, and I'm seeing you're doing your work wonderfully. And but he just suggested that don't take new cases. Whatever patients you have right now with your kid, you just maintain those patients, work with those patients, and don't go after the new patients. So I followed his advice, and that made me go further. So there are some. He just spoke a simple line. I don't know whether he realized that line made such a difference in my life, and I'm here today because of that advice. So I just wish and hope one line of my today's sharing can help you take further. We never know what clicks. So all the best, and just believe that कोमल है कमजोर नहीं तू, शक्ति का नाम ही नारी है. So just tune into that Shakti, and especially today as mothers on Mother's Day, just connect to that Shakti within that is given to us from the Divine Feminine. Trust that. And happy healing, happy homeopathy, happy living. Thank you.